Hello and welcome, I'm Tefera Gedamu. Meet Ethiopia is one of the local NGOs that's working with destitute women who are HIV positive. And Tefera Alemu, who is my guest today, has been listening to their stories for 7 years and is here to share those stories with me. A very warm welcome to this program. I understand that you work exclusively with people who are HIV positive and most importantly, with a number of women who are destitute and are HIV positive. How is it like working with HIV positive women?
It's very interesting because you know that you can contribute something to these people. I, for instance, was against working full-time as an employee anywhere. And I used to be a freelance worker as a journalist. And I started working on this project on temporary basis just for a month or two. But then I got so passionate with the work that we've been doing that I became completely engaged. So it's the kind of work where you can have your own contribution in improving the lives of women, specifically women who are infected by HIV/AIDS.
So you're passionate because you're making a difference, or you feel you are?
Yes, yes.
Can you tell me the areas in which you made the difference?
First of all, most of the women who come to our organization are women who do not have any close family. They have no one to share their burden with, and they are women who are widowed because they lost their spouse because of HIV. And by coming to our organization, we make sure that we listen to their problems, create access for income by giving them skill trainings, and by linking them with different services, because their needs are various. They have medical needs, they have legal needs, social and psychological support. So we accommodate these women and we try to find out the different kind of problems that they have, and we try to link them.
How do you identify those women? Do they come to you?
It is not us who identify the women. It is different organizations working at grassroots level.
These are NGOs or DIRS, voluntary associations and so on, or Kabbalehs?
Kabbalehs also, including health extension workers. They are the ones who identify these women, and they refer them to us, where we try to identify exactly the problem, the specific problem that each woman has, and we work towards solving that.
It must be very hard for these women to come out and tell those health extension workers or local NGOs who are involved in this business. I mean, it should be pretty much hard, isn't it?
Definitely. We do believe that only a portion of the women who are suffering from this problem do actually get support, because they have this fear of disclosing their real problem and their HIV status.
Do you feel disappointed that this is the case to date, after 20 years plus, when people started coming out as HIV positive? Do you feel that's disappointing?
It's sad because it's been 7 years for me since I started working directly with these women. And sometimes you hear that the level of stigma and discrimination has been reduced. But I really don't think this is the case. The stigma is still there. And there are many people who still have the fear to really tell their status to the outside world.
Would people kick them out if they admit that they are HIV positive, for example, in the family? Have you heard of such cases?
It has happened. I remember that one woman who's been referred to our organization was courageous enough to give an interview on television. And after that, she had difficulty in finding house rent because all of the people started to recognize her, and she was unable to get any house rents. And there are also instances...
Not that she cannot afford.
Yes, she can afford, because we have provided her with the skill, and she started to generate income. But most house owners were unwilling to rent their houses to her.
And what happened next?
Well, we managed to find, through our social workers, a means where we can accommodate this woman. We finally managed to find a house for her, but generally, People are afraid to share their bathrooms with people who are infected by HIV.
When was that? When did this happen?
It happened some 2-3 years ago.
How does this impact her homeostasis, her state of well-being? Was she affected psychologically after that? Because it would be really, really difficult to not to be able to rent a house while you can afford it.
Definitely, but we have managed to provide counseling for her. And I'm just giving you one example because there are so many such cases that happen every time. I remember, for example, a woman who has rented a house in a big compound, and when her HIV status was disclosed, most of the people living around her were unwilling to share a bathroom with her. So they prepared a separate bathroom for her, as well for her children. So really, she was in a very bad state, almost suicidal, and it was really necessary that she received some counseling and support. But the very fact that all the women who come to our organization, who are all facing such kind of problems, they have the opportunity of sharing their burden, and that is a therapy.
Because they meet every day in your... But, I mean, this particular lady that you've mentioned, I assume it would even be much worse for her children.
Definitely. The impact is extreme, and I think this is one case and one issue that all stakeholders working on HIV really need to work on, because the stigma is still there.
The stigma is still there. Tell me about their income status when you pick them up. I mean, pick them up is not the right word, I would say, but select them for enrollment in your facility where you give them training. What would their income be like?
You see, the number of people who are infected by HIV/AIDS is so high that we have to be very selective in admitting beneficiaries into our limited space. So the criteria that we set is women who are infected by HIV/AIDS, who are mothers of 2 or more children, and these are the kind of women that we accept. So all of the women...
And they have to be from the poorest of the poor.
Yeah, definitely. These are women who have no source of income and who have no one to support them.
What would their source of income be before they get selected by your organization for training or whatever?
Mostly handouts, or some of them do irregular labor, such as washing clothes in their neighborhood and things like that.
What do you mean handouts? Are they beggars?
There are beggars, and there are also different women who receive support from different organizations.
From among these women, would there be, you said these women that you've selected for training and so on, for income-generating activities and so on, were either widowed because their partners, one way or the other, died of HIV and AIDS. Would there be cases where women got raped and had kids as a result and, found out that they were HIV positive afterwards? Would you be able to bring them over to your institution?
Yes, let me give you one really interesting example on this. We had a woman who had mental problems, and she was kicked out from her house. Her parents kicked her out of the house, and she started sleeping on the streets. And she used to move around naked when she fell ill. And when she slept on the street, she used to come and tell us that she would get raped 5 times at least on one night. And all along, she's been telling the people, the passers-by who tried to rape her, that she's HIV, infected by HIV, but most of them are people who are drunk. And they went on, she's been raped so many times. And there were instances when she got pregnant, but she decided to abort. But rape was a very common thing in these kind of cases, especially for the women who are destitute and who cannot afford to rent a house.
I'm sure it would be very, very difficult for you guys to provide those counseling services, right? I mean, it's not an easy task, is it?
We don't provide counseling because we specialize on income-generating activities.
But you do. But when you bring them over to your institution for those trainings, you certainly you don't give any form of support, psychological support of sorts.
There are different kind of organizations working with us, and some of the organizations which refer beneficiaries to us do have counseling departments. So whenever we come across such cases, we refer these beneficiaries to other organizations which provide counseling services.
But those women, when they come together for those services in your institution, they feel really comfortable, right? That is kind of psychological support in its own right.
Definitely. Yeah. That's what they consider.
They talk to each other that they normally wouldn't, right?
Yes. In fact, what most of our beneficiaries say, more than the income that they start to generate after joining our organizations, the biggest impact that the service that we are providing is having is the fact that it brings together women who are suffering from the same problems, who are facing the same challenges, and the fact that they sit together and share their experiences and talk to each other really helps. And
what kind of training do you give them?
we give them skill training in sewing, embroidery, mirror work, and pottery also. So we provide them with skill training for a period of 6 months. We know that the women that we are receiving are women who do not have any source of income, so we provide them with a modest transportation allowance
While they undergo this
training. And right after they complete their training, we assist them to form cooperatives. We provide them with the starting capitals that they need. And after that, we have a marketing department. I think that is what makes our organization a bit different, because we have a marketing department which works.
You have the entire chain.
Yes.
So when you give them the training, you provide them the machinery, modest contribution, but very, very important. They do produce inside that compound, or they go on their own, start producing those things?
Normally it is the government which provides them with the working area, because as you know, the Ethiopian government prioritizes micro and small institutions, and as a result, they are prioritized in receiving free working space provided by the government.
So you provide the training,
The government
provides the space.
And we are also responsible of linking them with different marketing possibilities.
Tell me about the marketing thing here. I mean, are you making a difference? I mean, are this, like in pottery, embroidery, and you name it, those things that you've mentioned, the trainings, are they selling and making money, good money, you think?
Yeah, because...
Give me an example.
You know, right about now, we have 15 cooperatives within the organization. And what we do is we have a marketing department which looks and assesses markets in these specific fields that I mentioned. And once that we have the market, the orders are given directly to the cooperatives. They produce the orders and they receive income. So that's how it works.
So people are buying their products?
About buying, now the biggest clients that these cooperatives have are NGOs, which give big orders in terms of different workshop materials such as folders and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it is by creating mass orders and by linking this with the cooperatives that we are working to ensure that they get income.
How many of those women have you trained so far?
In total, we have trained around 450 women. Some of them have managed to get employment elsewhere as trainers, as factory workers. There are some who chose to work individually or separately. And there are also others who have formed these 15 cooperatives that I mentioned.
Very much empowered.
Empowered and who are in direct contact with us on day-to-day basis. We have our social workers which go and visit them every day. And it has become almost like a family, you know, the closeness that we have had over the last few years.
What does it tell you? I mean, when you sit down over coffee and try to probe, what do they tell you?
Many things.